Humanity Front Voting Campaign, Part 3. 31. Displacement of Indigenous People. If you support the displacement of indigenous people, please do not vote for the Humanity Front. Our government will respect indigenous rights and sovereignty, honor treaties, and work with indigenous communities to address historical injustices and protect their lands and cultures. Displacement of indigenous people refers to situations where indigenous communities are forcibly removed from their traditional homelands or when their lands are repurposed for projects like development, mining, or agriculture. This leads to threats to their communities, lifestyles, and cultural heritage. As a result of displacement, indigenous people are forced to leave their ancestral territories, which disrupts their social structure, culture, and livelihoods. Displacement often occurs without fair compensation or protection of their rights, leading to economic, social, and cultural challenges for indigenous people. The aim here is to ensure the protection of indigenous people's rights, their traditional homelands, and the safeguarding of their land and cultural heritage. 32. Gentrification. If you support gentrification, please do not vote for the Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize inclusive urban development that maintains community identity, affordable housing, and access to housing for all residents, rejecting policies that displace marginalized communities. Gentrification refers to the process in which financial investment and development in older, often poorer or middle-income areas, there is an increase in property and financial investments. This includes new residential, commercial, and infrastructural projects like apartments, restaurants, and shops. Income and ethnic changes, wealthier and younger people move into these areas, leading to shifts in the area's social structure and ethnic diversity. Price increase, property prices and rents rise, making it harder for existing lower-income residents to remain in the area. Local culture changes. Gentrification can change the existing cultural and social identity of the area, leading to the closure of local businesses and the arrival of new ones. Displacement. Existing residents who cannot afford the rising costs may be forced to leave, resulting in social inequality and displacement. While gentrification often aims at urban renewal and economic development, its social consequences, particularly on poorer or minority communities, can be controversial. 33. Anti-foreign policies. If you support anti-foreign policies, please do not vote for the Humanity Front. Our government will promote compassionate and inclusive immigration policies, welcoming refugees and migrants and recognizing their contributions to society. Anti-foreign policies are those that encourage negative attitudes or actions against foreign countries, foreign citizens, or international organizations. These policies are often framed as protecting national sovereignty, culture, and resources. Some key aspects of anti-foreign policies include restrictions on foreign investment, limiting or prohibiting foreign companies or investors from investing in the country, sometimes to protect economic autonomy but potentially hindering growth. Trade barriers, policies limiting or restricting trade relations with foreign nations, such as high tariffs or trade bans. Cultural protectionism, efforts to limit foreign cultural influence, such as restrictions on foreign media or cultural products aimed at protecting local culture. Advertising and propaganda control, measures against foreign advertisements or propaganda to control or restrict foreign corporate messaging. Laws against foreign citizens, policies that restrict the rights and freedoms of foreign citizens, such as making visas harder to obtain or imposing higher taxes. Distance from international cooperation, policies that distance the country from international organizations and cooperation programs, such as reduced participation in the UN, WTO, etc. The potential effects of anti-foreign policies include economic downturns due to reduced investment, cultural isolation, diplomatic tension, and a negative global image, leading to decreased international cooperation. 34. Sexual harassment and assault. If you ignore sexual harassment and assault, please do not vote for the Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize the safety and well-being of all individuals, implementing policies to prevent and address sexual violence, support victims, and hold perpetrators accountable. Sexual harassment and assault refer to sexual harassment, unwanted sexual actions, comments, or behavior towards an individual that make them uncomfortable, humiliated, or afraid. This can occur without physical contact and may include lewd comments, unwanted sexual advances, or inappropriate gestures. It can happen in workplaces, schools, public places, or other social settings. Sexual assault, a severe form of sexual violence that involves physical contact or coercion. This includes rape, physical sexual abuse, or attempts to establish sexual contact without the individual's consent. It involves force, violence, or actions against the will of the victim. Both sexual harassment and assault are crimes with deep emotional, physical, and mental consequences for the victims and reflect societal issues of gender inequality, violation of rights, and disrespect for personal security. 35. Exploitative labor and human trafficking. If you ignore exploitative labor and human trafficking, please do not vote for the Humanity Front. Our government will take decisive action against modern slavery, protect vulnerable populations from exploitation, and punish those responsible for these heinous crimes. Exploitative labor, forced labor, refers to situations where individuals are forced to work under physical, mental, or legal pressure, often without fair compensation or freedom. Key characteristics of exploitative labor include coercion and pressure. Workers are forced to work through violence, threats, or intimidation. Low wages and poor conditions. Workers are paid very little or not at all and may endure extremely harsh working conditions. Lack of freedom. Workers' freedom is restricted. They may not be allowed to leave, and their passports or other important documents may be confiscated. Physical and mental abuse. Workers may face physical punishment and mental abuse. Human trafficking refers to the forced or coerced movement of individuals for the purpose of exploitation, often across borders. Main types of human trafficking include sex trafficking, trafficking people for sexual exploitation, such as prostitution or pornographic films. Labor trafficking, forcing people to work in exploitative conditions, such as forced labor. Child trafficking, trafficking children for exploitation, sexual abuse, or forced labor. Service trafficking, trafficking individuals for forced domestic labor or other exploitative services. Human trafficking victims often face threats, fraud, and force and endure severe physical and mental health challenges. Combating both exploitative labor and human trafficking requires international collaboration and strong legal measures to protect vulnerable populations and punish perpetrators. 36. Digital divide. If you ignore the digital divide, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will work to bridge the gap in access to technology and digital literacy, ensuring that everyone has equal opportunities to participate in the digital age and benefit from technological advancements. The digital divide refers to the inequality between groups, individuals, or communities in access to information and communication technology, ICT, and the Internet. It is typically influenced by factors such as economic status, Those without sufficient financial resources may lack access to technology and high-speed internet. Geographical location. Rural and remote areas may have limited access to internet and digital services due to inadequate infrastructure. Educational and skill gaps. The lack of ability or knowledge to use digital technology can also contribute to the divide. Age and social groups. Different age and social groups may vary in their understanding and use of digital technology. Language and cultural diversity. A lack of digital content in various languages and cultures can also contribute to the divide. Addressing the digital divide ensures equal opportunities for everyone to fully utilize ICT for social and economic development. 37. Food waste. If you overlook food waste, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will implement strategies to reduce food waste, promote sustainable consumption, and address hunger and food insecurity, ensuring that resources are used responsibly so that all members of society have access to food. Food waste occurs when food meant for consumption is discarded or not utilized properly. Waste can happen at various stages. Production. Crops can be lost due to poor harvesting or processing practices. Distribution. Food can spoil during transportation or storage due to inadequate conditions. Retail. Supermarkets and stores may discard unsold or excess food. Consumer level. Households may buy more than they need, leading to wastage. Reducing food waste helps conserve resources, mitigate environmental impact, and address hunger. 38. Militarization of police. If you support police militarization, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize community-oriented policing practices that foster trust and cooperation between law enforcement and communities, rejecting the use of excessive force and military-grade equipment in civilian contexts. Police militarization refers to the process where law enforcement adopts military equipment, strategies, and a military-like approach. Key aspects include military equipment. Police forces acquire weapons like automatic rifles and armored vehicles that are unnecessary for regular policing. Military training. Officers are trained in military tactics and operations rather than community-based policing. Impact on public. Militarization can lead to aggressive policing, increasing fear and discontent among civilians. Effect on civil rights. The use of military-style tactics can threaten civil liberties, such as excessive force during arrests and surveillance. Militarization often aims to tackle crime and terrorism, but can impact the human approach required for community policing. 39. Child marriage. If you tolerate child marriage, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will prioritize the protection of children's rights, work to end the harmful practice of child marriage, and ensure that all children have the opportunity to grow and thrive in a safe and supportive environment. Child marriage refers to the practice of marrying of boys or girls under the age of 18, often affecting girls disproportionately. Its consequences include educational disruption. Children, especially girls, often drop out of school after marriage. Health risks. Early pregnancy increases the risk of maternal and infant mortality. Mental and emotional harm. Children are emotionally unprepared for the responsibilities of marriage. Economic insecurity. Child marriages often perpetuate cycles of poverty due to limited opportunities for livelihood. It violates children's rights and limits their potential for a bright future. 40. Exploitation of prison labor. If you support the exploitation of prison labor, please do not vote for Humanity Front. Our government will protect the dignity and rights of prisoners, reject exploitative or underpaid labor practices, and work towards rehabilitation and reintegration into society. Prison labor exploitation involves situations where prisoners are subjected to exploitative or harsh labor conditions, including low or no wages. Prisoners may be paid very little or forced to work without compensation. Harsh working conditions. They may be forced to work in dangerous or unhealthy environments without proper safety. Excessive work demands. Prisoners can be forced to work long hours, affecting their well-being. Disciplinary punishment. Refusal to work may result in harsh penalties like solitary confinement. Lack of oversight. The absence of proper oversight can lead to widespread exploitation of prison labor. This system aims to maximize economic gain at the cost of prisoner rights, violating human and labor rights. Thank you.